I'm going to share my screen, and Kareen just started the record. So I'm going to share my screen and we will get started with this is Accreditation 101, number 7.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so everyone can see the slide?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is, again, Accreditation 101, number 7, for the Best Practice Standards 8, 9, 12, and Accreditation Tool updates. We'll leave time for questions at the end of this session, and you should also feel free to put them in the chat as we go along, and we'll work to get them answered at the end. So here is our agenda for today. We'll take a quick look at the accreditation timeline. We will go over the updated accreditation tool with some addition to the MIS report column. We will share some tips on and reminders on accreditation for the 8th edition of the BPS. We will also then talk about the self-study BPS 8, 9, and 12. And we'll walk through some MIS reports for those standards and which you'll be submitting for the self-study. And then we'll answer any questions that you have. Okay, so here's our accreditation timeline updates. So here it is again, it's August, it's number 7. The timeline did change a bit from what was discussed last month. Today, again, we're doing 8, 9, and 10 BPSs. Next month, September, we will be focusing on the child abuse and neglect reporting based on the new standard. And then the rest of the GAs and BPS 7. In October, we'll be looking at PIs and our BPS topics. And then November and October, those topics will be determined based on what is needed and as we monitor the self-study entries.
So the accreditation tool updates. So we have added the MIS reports, an MIS report column to each tab in the accreditation tool, each BPS standard where applicable. We'll do just like a brief overview. So we'll pull up the accreditation tool and we'll kind of show you that column and where, where the reports are for the standards. And then, as Suzanne said, we'll delve a little bit further into the specific reports for the 8s and the 12s, not the 9s, because there actually are no reports required to be included in your self-study for BPS 9. And then when we look at the accreditation tool, just a note, some of the reports and or forms that we've listed in the MIS report column in the tool, you'll notice, or some of you may notice, they're not reports that are required by HFA per the tables of documentation. We're listing them and encouraging you to upload into SharePoint because they can only be helpful in sharing with peer reviewers if your site is chosen for peer review. And when we look at the tool, I'll show you some examples of, reports that we've included in there that are not necessarily required by HFA. And so I'm going to, I am totally technologically challenged. So when I'm going to pull up the report, but I have to stop sharing in order to show you the report. So I may have a little bit of difficulty getting back in after I show you the tool. So just bear with me. This is really humbling for me. So I'm gonna pull up the tool, and for whatever reason, when I pull it up, you're not able to see it. So I'm gonna stop sharing quickly, and then I'm gonna share again. And can you all see the tool?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. This is my dog. Hold on just one second. So sorry about that. So here is the tool. You can all see that, right?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, okay. So here we're just going to go to BPS 1, and if you can see the MIS report column, we've added what reports can be uploaded for each standard there. So and so we just have notes, so like under 2, and we'll send this updated tool out after the presentation, but you'll just see that we've noted things in here. And so some examples of standards where a report is not required per HFA, but we've listed anyway. So for example, 6.4B, so I'll scroll down. So here we have in our MIS the curriculum monitoring report. There is no report required per HFA in the tables of documentation, but this can be helpful to just upload into SharePoint. So if your site is chosen, it's a really easy place for you to go and pull that up so that they can see this information. So, I don't think we have to go through every single report, but just wanted to kind of give you a visual of where you can find that column and the reports that are listed accordingly. So just an example. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to get back to my screen. So you can all see this slide.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to go to the view.
We
We
see your
see
notes.
your view instead
your
of seeing
notes.
the, yeah, you have to go to the start the recording as of wherever you were.
Okay, let me just pull this up. Sorry.
No,
should have
I
been-
always blame Zoom. You shouldn't be sorry. So we were in number 6, slide 6. You have to go to slide 6 and start from there.
Yes. Okay. You can all see that?
We're seeing the agenda. Go to
Yep.
slide 6.
Here we are.
Yep.
Okay. So just a couple of tips that may help you when you're working to pull documents to upload into SharePoint. So our partners at CHSR have added a tag to all of the reports related to ASRs and quarterly reports in MIS. So when you're in MIS, if you go to the search bar and you put like ASR, it's going to generate a list of reports that will be helpful in completing your ASR. And then the same goes for your quarterly report. So if you put in the search box QTR, it's going to generate a list of all the reports that'll be helpful in completing your quarterly reports. And then just a note on that, MIS is going to generate a list of reports for your quarterly reports, but you don't have to upload all of those reports into into CMS when it's time for claiming. You only have to upload the reports that are listed on the data report checklist. So just a little reminder there. And then just another reminder that we sent an email out to the field providing detailed guidance to help assist with tracking and data entry on trainings. And so here it says it's embedded here as well, although it is not embedded here because we've noticed that when we embed links, you're not able to open them. But for those of you that did not get that email, please reach out to me and I'll make sure to send it to you directly. It's really helpful. Our CHSR partners developed a really easy checklist to help you utilize the data training report and so that people aren't having to create a separate spreadsheet to track all of their trainings. And so now I'll turn it over to Suzanne to talk about best practice standard 8.
Thank you. So best practice standard 8, there are 2 policies in this standard, and for our purposes, HFNY, they're all combined into one. And all the documentation for the standard, it's found in the policies. The 2 standards that I just mentioned are 8-1A and 8-2A. They're also, the documentation is also found in the MIS reports to show the minimum that all families are linked to a medical provider to ensure optimal health and development. That's what that standard is around. Consider checking your policy and procedures against the accreditation tool, the tool that Melanie just previewed, just to ensure that you have everything that you want and need in your procedures. And if there are any updates needed, just go ahead and send those updated procedures to your PCM for review and approval.
Yes.
Yes, I spoke in error. Yes,
Yeah.
I apologize. It is for case weight. See, this is live as it gets. So I apologize. I'm not sure who said it, but yes, BPS 8 is around case weight. And the report that I'm actually referencing for 8-1B is the annual case weight report. And also go ahead and reference the accreditation tool to see that your procedures match up against what's required for that standard around case weight. Thank you. Okay, so best practice 9. Best practice 9 has 9 standards. The documentation is all found in the self-study in the form of policy, procedures, HR documentation, and narrative analysis. 9-1B has a policy regarding hiring for new staff. I know this was touched upon in the last 101 accreditation. Again, just look back and see that the descriptions are what should be in the procedures and what is in the accreditation tool. Double check to make sure that you have all those procedures that's in the policy. They'll be included in the next slide. Again, Allison did touch on them in the previous 101. For 9-1B, C, and D, if this is a first accreditation visit, submit resumes for all current staff. If this is a re-accreditation visit, submit resumes for all staff hired since the last accreditation visit. Please also provide narrative for staff who do not meet all the criteria as outlined in the standard, including justification for hiring decision and staff development plans that have been developed and implemented. So if those were needed, staff development plans justifying why the person hired did not meet the criteria, please also include that as well. For 9-2, it's the narrative on equal opportunity employment. 9-3.a is recruitment and selection practices. 9-3.b is the legally permissible background checks. And 9-4, this narrative is included in your ASR. So there's no need, excuse me, to upload the narrative here.
And so just as Suzanne said, so these next 3 slides, I know that when Allison and Kareem presented on the last 101, Allison just thought it would be helpful to just emphasize that this list, and this is in your policies for 9, just lists all the criteria that should be, in job descriptions for program manager, supervisor, and then direct staff. And again, just this is highlighted because I believe this was one that the previous accreditation round, this was something that programs scored out a lot on.
Melanie, there's a question from Trina there saying, what is the date of the last accreditation visit? If you were visited, Trina, I'm sure you have the date of that visit, but I would say it's right around 2018, I would guess, somewhere. So anybody hired in the past 5 years.
Yes, I joined
Only for
after
visited. I'm sorry. It's only for people who are visited then?
No, for everybody. So it's 28.
Okay.
It's 20. What I'm saying is, if you were visited, I'm sure you remember that visit by.
Oh yeah, no, we weren't.
but if you weren't, it's it's 2018. It's the past 5 years.
Thank you.
Sure. So now best practice standard 12. So there are 4 policies in BPS 12. The last policy, 12.4a, we did not make any changes, and we just finalized the policy 12s, and not sure if you have had a chance to check emails, but I did send out the final 12s this morning. So there were changes to 12.1a, 12.2a, and 12.3a, but not 12.4a. So again, just a reminder, check your policy and procedures against the accreditation tool to make sure that you have all that you want and need included for procedures. And again, right, if you do update any of your procedures, please send those to your program contract manager to review updates. And then they can send you approval on those, and you can upload those into SharePoint. And so then the HFNY accreditation tool and the reports for 12. So you're going to upload the following reports into SharePoint for the 12s. So that's going to be 12.1b. The regularly scheduled and protected supervision. 12.1d, this is a new report. This is showing the supervisor ratio, case weight. So this is a new report, and what programs will need to do is, beginning now, run this report. So we were talking with our CHSR partners, and our thought was, the best time to kind of run this report is, around the 10th of the month. So after you've done all of your data entry into MIS, it would be a good idea to then run, or really you should then run this 12-1D report, which is going to give you the data for 1 month of data to show if any of your supervisors are over case weight. So for example, we know a lot of programs have supervisors who carry a small caseload and supervise staff. And so this report is going to show programs if they're over case weight or at case weight on a month-to-month basis. So if you run that report every month starting now, you should have 4 or 5 months of these reports that can be uploaded into SharePoint for the purposes of accreditation. So it will kind of show a history of what the case weight is for your supervisors at your program.
I would add to that, Melanie, run and print, make a PDF of it and keep it either program documents or in a file of yours, because you will need to go back, and the report is data as of today. So that's why we're saying if everybody were to run it around the 10th of the month, when you know you finish making sure that all the data is in the MIS, then you should have a consistent history for the next couple of months.
And then so the other 2 reports are 12-2C and 12-3B, and these I have them asterisk, so I'm just checking the tables of documentation, because again, I believe that these are 2 reports where HFA does not require, yeah, these are 2 reports that HFA does not require, you know, documentation to be uploaded into self-study. But here we've added them to the accreditation tool and really encourage you to run those reports and upload them into SharePoint. So then again, if your site is chosen, it's a really easy place for you to kind of point them to the reviewers to be able to see that information. So that's the observation by supervisor and then the supervision of supervisors. And then lastly, just a little note. So just looking at the tables of documentation for 12-1C, this is asking programs to submit a report indicating the date, time, and attendees of group reflective consultation groups. And so we're not requiring it this time around because it only pertains to the child welfare protocol programs. And since those new programs are not included in this round of accreditation, we felt like we didn't need to have people do that. And so it's really kind of short. That's really the only information that we wanted to kind of just point out and share with all of you for the 8, 9s, and 12s. So we, can go back and take a look at the chat, and any questions that you all have about any of the information on the 8, 9s, and 12s, we can answer now.
Melanie, good morning, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
You said ASR and QTR, I'm in MIS. Is it supposed to be a report that you're supposed to put in?
No, so that was just part of what CHSR did was they tagged all of the reports that are in MIS that will be helpful when programs want to complete the ASR or the quarterly report. And so you don't have to upload those reports into SharePoint for accreditation. That was just something that we thought would be helpful to share with you when you are completing your ASR, if you just go into the search box and you put in ASR, it's going to bring up all of the reports that will be helpful for you to reference when you're completing your ASR. But you only need to upload the ASR into SharePoint, not the related reports. Does that answer your question?
Liddy, it works the same as, you remember that I always say, if you write the word indicator in the search box, you get only those reports that have to do or are asked for when you run your indicate, or when we run the indicators. We've done the same. We used to have this tag word or keyword before, but we've now made sure that we've updated the correct reports for the ASR and the quarterly report. So those are keywords that you can put in to help you out.
Does that make sense, Liddy?
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
There was another question in the chat. Will the updated tool with the MIS reports be sent out? And I responded that it will be sent out after this meeting.
Yes. And then I saw that Trina had questions previously. So where is the tool located? And so the accreditation tool is currently on the HFNY website, but it is not the updated one yet. I'll send, I can send out to the field the webinar slides from today and the updated accreditation tool. And then our website committee will work to get the updated tool on the website. It can be found under the accreditation tab. And then Trina, you had a question about the data entry for the trainings. I sent that out. I'd have to look back at the date that I sent that out. I sent that out to both CA and all of the Healthy Families programs. But if you didn't get that, Trina, I can send that to you again today. I'm just making myself a note.
Okay, I must have, if I got it, I've just gotten a million emails since then and must not have marked it. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No problem. I have an abyss with my emails, so I totally get how things can get lost and put in different places. So no problem at all.
Thank you.
Sure. And then I'm just looking at the chat. Yeah, and I know Suzanne, you answered Nora, like we will, I'll send that out today, the tool, and then as soon as possible, we'll get the updated tool onto the website. So do we have any other questions about anything we presented today? Or if you have questions about SharePoint, like, you know, now's the time that we'll work to answer any of those questions.
I have a question about about 8.1a. In the best practice standards, the rating indicator for 2 says that, like, it indicates that caseload sizes are based on tenure, and then it specifically mentions FSSs in their role for 1 to 2 years with a caseload typically of 10 to 12, and then FSSs employed for 3 years or more, typically 15 to 20. The HFNY policy does indicate it should be based on tenure, but the only thing that was mentioned was 15 to 20 families. I just wanted to see if that was, and this was one of the earlier policies I think that we had done. So I just wanted to see if that's something that should be added or adjusted or added to the site-specific policies.
So that's a great question, Emily. And so when we, I remember way back when we were looking and finalizing this policy, we did check in with HFA about that. And so their response was, it's really about, the emphasis is really paying attention to that case weight. That's why we kind of, we drafted the policy and finalized it as it is. So for our purposes, right, the 15 to 20 is kind of like the range that you should be aiming for. But the emphasis would be just being mindful that your staff are not over that case weight of 30, right? And that fluctuates depending on the number of hours in their work week. But it's really more about paying attention to that, making sure staff are not over the case weight of 30. So HFA has less emphasis on like the number of families, but it's that case weight. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
I see Maggie's hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what Melanie shared too around like the policy does have also, you know, the guideline around with new staff, obviously you're pacing, I think that's the word you used, is pacing the rate at which you add to their caseload. So I think that was our sort of compromise with, it didn't feel realistic to say, okay, for the first 2 years, you're really limited to like what new staff can take on. If a new staff member after 6 months is really, you know, learned their role and is really excelling, like then if the supervisor feels comfortable, they feel comfortable to carry a full caseload. We didn't want to put in our policy something that limited your ability to have that flexibility around, okay, this person really knows what they're doing. They're doing a really great job. They say they're ready to have a full caseload. They can do that. Especially when we know, you know, around capacity and contractual capacity. So I think that was part of our reasoning too around keeping those specific number of families out of our New York State policy.
Thanks,
Got it, thank
Maggie.
you.
And do we have any other questions around, again, like the 8, 9, 12 policies or anything related to SharePoint or any reports that you have questions on?
When we are uploading the reports in MIS, you want us just to use the MIS report name just as like a standardized way of saving it so that we all know what we're looking at? I just wanted to
Yeah.
confirm. So if it's like the 12-2C report title, you just want us to use that so it's very clear.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
that makes the most sense. And then, right, it would be under that additional reports tab. I was actually looking in SharePoint today, and maybe I'm not seeing the like most recent SharePoint, although I don't know how that would be, but I wondered it wasn't looking like programs have yet started uploading into SharePoint, but I feel like that can't be the case. Have some of you started to upload things into SharePoint or not yet?
I'm going to
I
be
have a-
abundantly transparent and say no.
Okay, no, that's okay.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. I was like, you know what? We'll get through ASR, we'll get through August, and we'll do it.
Yes, no, that's okay. Because when I was looking, I was like, maybe I'm like, which is entirely possible that I'm not like going to the most recent, but no, that's okay. And that maybe makes sense as to why, folks don't seem to have questions yet about the SharePoint, is because you just haven't started uploading those things yet.
I see Dina there says that Staten Island started putting the policy, so that's maybe a good place to start.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Esther. Maybe I just didn't look at every single person's folder. So
Maybe you were looking for Clinton and you didn't see North Country.
right, that could be. So how do you
It has
feel?
been a challenge, though. It has been a little bit of complicated challenge. And I think it has to do with the communication between our own SharePoint, my own SharePoint with my agency, and then have to download into documents and then share it into the next in your guys' SharePoint, because I cannot just transfer like, with a click of a mouse like I usually can. It has been very slow moving process, but it's working though. It's refreshing. Every single time I upload one document, I have to refresh the screen so it can take the next one. So just so you guys know, it's complicated.
So Esther, is that because so like your agency has its own SharePoint where you store documents, and so you're trying to, like, when you're in our SharePoint and then you're going to retrieve, right, the file, you're trying to go into the other SharePoint. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I have to, so I have to download from my SharePoint into my documents, into my,
file.
whatever file, whatever, my personal file. And then I still cannot just drag it into the window of the accreditation SharePoint. I have to click upload and select that particular from the file, but I cannot do more than one document at a time. And it has to be, one at a time. But then after I do that, I have to refresh my SharePoint for my accreditation file, refresh it, and then let it go back to the beginning, then go and select the screen or the tab that I need to go into to upload the next document. So it has been especially for the ones on the areas for the hiring and the evidence for the staff. And I had to submit all of the information on my staff. We have it all very beautifully organized in SharePoint, but I cannot even zip it into one document and transfer it. It has to be decompartmentalized or whatever you call it, and then put back. It's crazy, but it's working though.
I'm so sorry. I have never experienced that. So, but I get what you're saying. Like, the one SharePoint site is not interfacing with the other SharePoint site. You have to save it all to a separate file, your own personal file, and then, and I don't know why. I'm not sure about why you have to refresh each time.
Esther, have you communicated with Claudia? Because Claudia is the expert on SharePoint.
Yeah,
Well,
I have. And
Okay.
that's exactly what is the outcome of this whole conversation was my SharePoint with my BHSN agency doesn't communicate with OCFS SharePoint. They're two different things. And even though they're the same manufacturer, Microsoft, everything, they don't have the same agreements on communication. So I have to do that roundabout uploading. So.
And I just wanted to clarify, so because we've kind of given guidance, we have given guidance. So if you're having challenges with accessing SharePoint, Claudia would be the one to reach out to. But if it's challenges with like interfacing with SharePoint, you'd reach out to your program contract manager for that assistance, as opposed to Claudia. She definitely is an expert, but we didn't want to kind of like overburden her with assisting programs with the interfacing of SharePoint. So you can reach out to your OCFS program contract manager for those types of challenges. So trouble accessing, reach out to Claudia. Anything else, reach out to your program contract manager. Any other questions? So then we can move we just have a couple of more slides to share. So if there aren't any more questions, I can do that.
What a nice cup you're drinking of, Rebecca.
You all can see the screen questions?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so this is just a repeat of what I was just sharing. So trouble setting up or accessing SharePoint, you can reach out to Claudia, and any other questions related to SharePoint, just reach out to your contract managers. And so for those of you that find it helpful to attend the office hours, please you can start uploading policies and procedures and any other reports or any other documentation into SharePoint. And then if you have questions, you can bring those to your office hour session. Running the MIS training reports. You can reach out to your assigned accreditation PCM with any questions that can't wait for your next scheduled office hours. And just a reminder to please respond to any of your accreditation PCMs with requests for doodle polls, emails, phone calls, as they work to set up those meetings. And then just another reminder to please make sure that your contract dates are updated in MIS. Otherwise, the reports that you're running will not be aligned with the current year in review. And then overall questions, if you're not sure who to send those to, please feel free to reach out to Allison and I and Suzanne, all or any one of us. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I know that was a pretty short session today. I'm sure you all can use the time. But like I said, if you have questions, if you think of questions after, please reach out and we'll work to get those. Oh, Emily, you have your hand raised.
Yeah. I have a question regarding policies like 10, 11, the trainings. With the orientation to the multi-site system, I'm seeing on the reports that there's some staff that need them, and I'm not sure about exactly when we had that requirement to do the orientation to the multi-site system. But for staff that have been here for, prior to that requirement, how is that getting handled in MIS? Is there a specific date that we were supposed to have done like that particular training?
The orientation to the multi-site was introduced in the 2018 BPSs, but it was introduced, I can't remember, I think it was like a 12-month wraparound. And so it was done later. And then now with the new BPSs, HFA moved it to the orientation piece. And so that's why we're running into like people not finding, you might find some people in the ungroup, some other people in the, the ones that are being required as of 2022. Check to see if, if they didn't receive it as a 12-month wraparound. And here I have to say, we realized when we were working on these reports that we never introduced the 12-month wraparound dash, whatever it was called, into the MIS reports. So for the last couple of years, PIs, we haven't been requiring that. You were making or meeting the 12-month wraparound, and maybe the person didn't get the training. So that's why we're saying you'll have to go back and check, Emily, because we did a bad job of, it just like went over our heads. We didn't incorporate it in the listing of the subtopics. So that's why we haven't been looking at it. So if you still find people who, it could be that they don't have the training because we didn't ask you for it. We didn't remind you of it when we were running the 12-month wraparounds at each PI iteration.
Okay, so do we know when it was, because I know it was in the 2018 BPS,
Mhm.
but do we know when it was kind of back on our radar in New York? To require, because I like for a while we were using just the TLC trainings for the wraparound.
No. For the multi-site system, we have a video that was put up on the TOL and the HFNY as of 2018 that you need. It's a 15-minute video. It's not a big deal. It's a PowerPoint that talks about the multi-site system and what it is and what, you know, so it's a very short training. So if anybody didn't take it, just take it again. It's not that long. Pikini put it up. I think it's on both sides, on the MIS and in the TOL. You take it with your team, you put the date in. You're probably going to get it late if you haven't done it, but eventually you'll get it in, and that's not a big deal. But the requirement, it used to be a 12-month wraparound. Now it's part of the orientation. So anybody hired as of 2022 needs it before they start seeing families. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you. That answers my question.
I don't know if that's okay or not. I feel like I never heard of that training until very, very recently when the new list of orientation trainings came out, because it wasn't on the code list.
Yeah,
I mean, I
know,
recall
but it
during
wasn't
like
the
the
policy.
meeting.
It was in the policy of, you know, if you look at 10 and 11 policies from the 2018, it is there. Everybody had to, we went over it at regionals, you know, like, but I know that it's like probably our fault because we didn't, you know, follow you saying like, you're not meeting the 12-month wraparound because it's showing here that you haven't completed it. So I apologize for that. But on the other hand, it's a very easy, short video that you can watch on a team meeting. You'll get it late, but that's okay.
Okay, any other questions? I can see Clem thinks you just put that into the chat.
Thank you, Clem.
Sorry, one last question about trainings.
Don't be sorry.
I was looking at the BPS training report, and before I saw that there was the annual diversity training, but it's not there anymore. Is that because it's a new, well, it's not really a new requirement, but kind of repurposed from?
Yeah, but you know, HFA does that kind of thing. They keep the same training, call it something different, do it, give it another time frame, and then, you know, we have people here going crazy trying to incorporate it. We used to have that anything that was diversity or cultural, you would click a little box that says 5-3, and that was it. That was with the 2018. Now they want a definite training that you have on your list. It's a new added thing, which takes pretty much what you were doing before, but it's a new thing that you need to do, and everybody has to have it annually or whatever. I can't remember now exactly how the BPS says, but you have it now added to the orientation, and then I believe it's like the annual one, and everybody needs to have it.
I don't see the annual one, like under the annual trainings. I only see like the child abuse and neglect training, not the annual diversity. And I had seen it before. So was there, I don't know, was there?
I don't know what happened to it, but it didn't go away because that's HFA's.
I'll put in the ticket then.
If you have that, Emily, remember, tick it instantly. Tick it because it might be a bug.
No, you hear from me.
Deleted it. Oh my goodness. Now I want to go and see.
Oh, are you looking, Karine?
Mhm.
So if no one has any other questions, you know, we can end follow-ups. Trina, I am going to send you that email that I sent out to the field that actually Karine created. So I'll send that out. And we're just gonna make that little correction on the one slide for 8, BPS 8, and then I'll send out to everyone the presentation for today and the updated accreditation tool, and then we'll work to get it up on the website as quickly as we can.
Yeah,
And all of you have a good rest of your day.
thank you.
Thank you.